We're back.
We're back. Okay, finally, we got the elusive Jake Menden back on the podcast. So we have recorded one episode together.
That's sad. It's been over a year and we've only gotten one in.
It's been a year.
Oh, well.
Trying to get on this guy's calendar, I mean.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm so excited. We are going to kind of just shoot the shit today, to be honest. But we really want to talk about mental toughness. So if you follow either one of us, you probably see some of these crazy things that we do. Like we did 75-day hard. We do ice baths, and reminding all of you listeners that we live in Wisconsin. And so Jake was doing ice baths when it was negative temperatures out.
It was 13 below was the coldest.
13
that I went
below.
in. My hands froze to the door getting back into the house.
Yeah, 13 below, drilling through the ice bath. Like, this is commitment with an ice auger to get through how many inches of ice.
Yeah.
Doing different fasts. So we really just wanted to talk today a little bit about like why we do some of these things and bring it back to this idea of mental toughness. And of course, we like to do it for the health benefits and research behind a lot of the things we do. But really, I think it's more so the mindset piece. So buckle up, because who knows where we're going to go.
Yeah, you get a glimpse inside of our brains.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Whether you want it or not.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just start with, first of all, when we talk about mindset, and I know, gosh, I barely remember what we talked about on the podcast that we did the last time. I know, go check it out, because I was really still a newbie podcast host. I think I've hopefully evolved a bit since then. But we were really talking about like running businesses together, how we each had businesses. We were talking about kind of some of the relationship pieces and how you navigate when someone in the relationship is like changing and evolving from a personal development standpoint.
Yep.
And we have both grown so much. So we've been together since we were in high school. So a long time. And we talked about on that episode just like all the different journeys that we've had. And I would say within the last couple years especially, we have been like really, I think even more so you in the last year, just really changing and pivoting and growing in a lot of areas that we never really were into before.
Yeah. No, I would agree.
Actually, someone was just telling me, because Jake posts a lot about his ice baths and other things like that. And one of my friends was just saying like, wow, Jake has really like evolved over the last year.
Hopefully it's a good
I don't
thing.
know what she meant by that. I don't know.
Whoever you were.
I don't know. I'll keep it anonymous.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the fun. And so obviously we were really big into mindset. We talked about, we've gone to Tony Robbins. We did the fire walk, which I think is really what started our idea of mental toughness. Like if you can walk over hot coals.
I will say it every single time I can. If you can go to Tony Robbins, go.
Yeah, I think like, for both of us,
put everything aside, everything you've heard or you think you're going to do there or no, just go.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. I'm very excited to go back to another one very soon.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that was just this catalyst, and it just really opened, even though we both were into personal development before that, that I think was the thing that really opened our eyes to, holy cow, what we can do when you work on your mindset and you like rewire your brain. And that was the starting point. But again, you know, it's as you continue to evolve and grow and you get more and more into entrepreneurship, I feel like you cling to anything and everything because it's
keep you sane.
Yeah, it's stressful and it's hard. I always say it makes you face like the deepest, darkest parts of yourself.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately it does, yes.
It does. And then I always say like life is going to like keep slapping you in the face. And so in order to navigate all that, we have really grown in the space of this mindset and mental toughness. And, you know, I went through a program on mental fitness and just all of these different things I use with my clients. But some of the things that we have started incorporating also goes hand in hand with health. So I've talked on the podcast about it before, our health journeys over the last couple of years, you know, starting with my mysterious...
There's still a journey.
Yeah, it's still a journey. We're not through the other side, but, no. You know, my mysterious illness starting in 2019, that was? Yeah, 2019.
It's 2018.
2018.
Mm-hmm. Summer of 18.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, the journey until, you know, I've shared on the podcast. If you're a new listener, I got diagnosed with multiple strains of chronic Lyme's disease, mold, a whole slew of other things that really set me off on this path of, getting into a lot of different health things, alternative health things, holistic health things, and mindset to go with that. And then obviously I've shared, if you've been a listener, if you're a new listener and you're not sure, Jake was diagnosed with cancer in 2022. 2022.
Yep, coming up on 2 years now in April.
Yeah, coming up on 2 years. That's crazy. And we are so grateful and fortunate that his experience and journey with that was quick and brief, but really, I feel like was a huge pivotal shift for you.
Yeah, totally. It was health-wise, like, because I know we're gonna focus on like mental toughness and some health stuff too, but like I was healthy before then, but I never tracked what I ate. Never looked at how much sugar was in stuff. Really, rarely worked out. I just never gained weight, so I'm like, oh, I'm good. And yeah, it kind of snuck up on us a couple years ago. But with all of your health stuff, we were just putting so much effort into you, and I'm like, I don't have any. I'm good. Like I don't need to deal with anything. And then
yeah,
it's kind of funny to laugh at now, but
yeah,
I just wanted to join you with health stuff. So it's like, I'll do it with you. We do everything together anyways. So
yeah, sure. Let's dive into that and do that together. Yeah. And it was, we're going to talk a little bit about the health stuff, but also with the mental toughness. Yeah. I would say I've always been really into health and fitness and watching what I ate and looking at ingredients. But again, within the last couple of years, when you've been through the journey that we've been through in our household, just in the last couple of years, you really do dive into like, what is everything and anything that I can do to help my health, to help, and also again with mental state, because when you go through, especially the journey that I had where it was like these mysterious things, like you can really get into your head, and I still do, to be totally transparent, where it gets so stressful and so overwhelming, and your mindset and your mood can really take a hit. And so for us, it's like, what can we do? And then when you get diagnosed with cancer, like even just hearing those words, and then not that far later saying you're cancer free, but it could come back, like it's just this mindset game. And so we knew that we also have to take care of our physical bodies, which is why we've made a lot, even more changes in our family and our households. And also, though, that it starts with our minds and our emotions, and that plays such a huge role in how you either heal or don't heal.
Yep. Yeah. And I would say I started eating much healthier and being much healthier right after that. That was kind of like the final straw type thing. And then we started doing the ice baths about a year ago, right? It was winter when we did that.
Yeah, I think it was a year ago, because I had seen people doing this, and I had told Jake a couple times, like, we should do this. It wasn't
super popular then.
No, it wasn't as popular that it is now, but I would see people do it, and I was like, oh, I know the benefits. Sometimes if you've been to a spa, they have like the cold plunge type thing.
72 degrees.
It's 70, it's different, but still. And I was like, Jake, we should do this. So I was the, hey, this would be cool, we should do this. And he was the, I'm going to get a big bucket and we're actually going to do it.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember when he actually got this big, we don't have like the fancy, but we just have a big, like, what is it? Like a trough.
Not yet. We don't have the fancy one.
Not yet.
Sponsors.
Yeah. It's just like a big trough. Like you can really do it with any big bucket.
It's a cattle trough. You put drinking water in there for cattle.
Yeah. But we don't do that.
No. We don't drink the water.
No, we sit in it. And I just remember he set it up. He's like, okay, we're going to do this. I was like, oh, wait, it was just an idea. It was just a thought.
No, you got to run with it. I thought it was cool. And we've been doing it pretty much ever since.
Yeah. And again, every time we talk about health things on here, like we are not doctors. This is not medical advice. Asterisk. This is not medical advice. You do what's good for you, and also do the research, right? Like do the research. People have asked me why to cold plunge, and I can send you articles and we can point to that.
Yep. There's
so many benefits from, an immune support perspective, from a mood perspective. That's the thing, the mindset piece, which we'll talk about, but like the actual physiological benefits, there are a lot of benefits there. And we definitely feel those, like our energy, our mood. While you can't directly say it helps your immune system, the research shows it does. I can't be like, yeah, because I did this, I was healthier today. But you feel the energy. But the mindset thing, I think, is the big piece.
Yeah, there's a scientist. His name's Andrew Huberman. He's at Stanford University, and he has his own podcast called Huberman Labs, and he does all these amazing things. But he talks really in depth about the science behind it, on the benefits of it. Exposing yourself to as much cold as you can tolerate, like safely tolerate. He always asterisks that, and we do too. I mean, we break 3 inches of ice out of our bucket and then we go in it. But someone else probably couldn't handle that. Like they need to do a cold shower first, or a 50-degree bucket of water first, rather than 33 degrees like ours is. So, but that's probably the place where I get a lot more information from, is Huberman.
Yeah, so it's like looking at the research, but then also, knowing your own individual body and like what you can tolerate. And again, we're in Wisconsin, so now we're at the point where it's winter and we're going outside like Jake did in negative temperatures, walking outside, breaking ice off the thing, and then sitting in it for, I try and do around 2 minutes. And trying to take deep breaths and all of that. And it's the getting yourself to commit to doing it, like doing the thing.
That's the hardest part. It's not bad.
No, it's like doing the thing that you said you would do. And I think I just did one this morning, and I just did a little video. I'm like, I don't know what's worse, actually walking out through these big, because we had a whole bunch of snow here in Wisconsin.
We have 2 feet of snow.
So it's like you're walking through snow to get into an ice. So I don't know if it's actually worse walking to it or when you actually step into it.
I did a post on this the other day. It is always the temperature of the water, as long as it's water, is going to be 33, 34, 35 degrees. If it freezes, it's 32 or below, and you obviously can't get in it. But everything else around you, if there's 2 feet of snow or there's no snow, if it's sunny, if it's windy, if it's rainy, the water is the same temperature and your body doesn't know any different. The only thing that knows different is your mind. So if you let your mind say, gosh, there's 2 feet of snow, it is going to be so much colder than it was a week ago before we had 2 feet of snow. That is, you can pinpoint that as the lie your silly brain is trying to tell you to keep you out of the water. And you can just be like, that makes 0 sense. It is the same temperature. You just see outside things and you're trying to keep me from doing something that's hard. The brain always wants an easy route, simple, comfortable. And you have to be strong enough to tell it to just shut that up. Yeah. Right?
Well, that's the thing. It's trying to protect you. It's like it's trying to protect you. It's like, why would I want to go in the bucket of ice? It's trying to take the path of least resistance. Like, why would I do that? But what we know to be true is that you're only going to grow to the next level, and you're only going to step into bigger and better things if you push yourself and do things that aren't comfortable. Like, of course, would I rather stay inside, snuggled up in a sweatshirt? Most days, probably. But what I know is that every single time without fail, when I get out of that ice bath, I feel such a huge energy and mood lift. And I also feel like a badass. Yeah.
Well, so it was -13 was the actual temperature. The wind chill was probably closer to 25 below. This is Fahrenheit. If anyone's listening elsewhere, this is Fahrenheit. 25 below Fahrenheit. That's cold. But again, there's water, and it's the same temperature. So the more you get into it, the warmer it is, as silly as it sounds. Because it is, 25 below wind chill is cold.
Yes. I did not do it that week. I took that week off.
But you can get out, you can dry off, you can walk into the house, your hands get frozen to the metal of the doors. But other than that, you're fine. Imagine that. You lived, but your brain was like, you're going to die. You're going to die. Don't do it.
And what you did, too, is you proved to yourself that you could. So if we relate this to, like, of course, again, everything that we do, it's like from the health benefit, but also from that mindset benefit. Because what it proves to us is, well, we can do really hard things. And also shows is that some days it's going to be a lot harder than other days. So we know from a business perspective, gosh, we've got to reach out to a prospect. We have to submit a big proposal. We've got to put ourselves out there and do something that we've never done before. We have just built up instances that we've proven to ourselves that we can.
And I feel like we do something new and challenging every day, and it's still hard.
Yes.
I'm waiting for the time when it's like I don't have to go back and tell my brain like, why are you holding back? I don't know when that time will be.
I don't think it
I
will.
don't think it will.
Because we're never okay with just okay or like comfortable. I feel like we're always uncomfortable.
I know. Yet our brains are still like, oh, don't do that. It's like we've never died once, right?
True.
We've never died once.
It's an interesting way of saying it.
Well, speaking of hard things, let's jump into the next one, which I think was this summer. We started doing the 75 hard.
Yes. So we had done the ice.
What's the guy's name? Andy Ferrillo? Is that the guy?
Yes. I think that's how you say his last
And I was sorry if I messed it up. Tough dude.
Yeah. And he's got a book. And you've probably seen this too, like out on social media. I saw people, that's where I first saw it, was people doing the 75-day hard challenge. And to be honest, there's so many differing opinions on this because there's some people saying that's not healthy for you, it's not safe. So again, this is our experience with it. So you might have a different one. So I want to talk about some of the like why we did it, the pros and cons of it, and what we learned from it. Because again, it's not maybe for everyone, or maybe it's not for you at a certain time. And I have no judgment of people that decide to like modify it or anything like that. The gist of 75 hard, again, while it has health benefits, it's a mental toughness challenge. So there's a couple core things that you do as part of the challenge, things like picking a meal plan or a diet plan. We're going to say a nutrition plan and sticking to it. So kind of whatever you want. One of the big things we really did was try to stick to whole foods, healthy whole foods, really low amounts of sugar. And then you have to do 2 workouts, 2 45-minute workouts. One has to be outside. You have to drink a gallon of water a day, read 10 pages of personal development. I think those were the...
No alcohol, did you say that?
No alcohol.
Yep.
So those were kind of the core things. Why we decided to do it was twofold. We both just really wanted to really have the strong push to feel really healthy and do something that was going to challenge us together. And then also we wanted to do the thing where we were working on pushing our minds and doing that type of thing.
Yeah. You said one of the workouts had to be outside, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was... The meal plan stuff wasn't bad. I think how I set my meal plan, like it wasn't calorie based. It was literally just how close to whole foods, meaning nature's food, can I get? Obviously, there's some things that are mixed together, but it's like, are the ingredients in this thing clean, simple? That's how we kind of went. And then as much or as low added sugar as I could. I think I had 20 grams a day, which most of the time I never even got close to that. But like sometimes bread had some stuff in it, or I don't remember what else had a little bit of added sugar. A couple of the treats or something that we would have, like the fruit bars or something, if they had a couple extra grams of sugar in them. But like no sodas, nothing processed, like, which is it's crazy to think about. Like that stuff is everywhere. You walk into a gas station and you're on a road trip somewhere. It's like, well, what do we get? Like, okay,
it'd be very planful and mindful. It really makes you.
Yeah, Pop-Tarts are not on that health plan.
No,
not even close.
Yeah, so that was the food thing. I think was really great too, just from the being more mindful, and I think for you too, it was just I had already for years known to watch the ingredients in sugar, but that was something Jake had never done. So I think it was really eye-opening for you when you started to see like how much added sugar was in things that you thought was not so bad.
I think the second day I had a golf outing, and I went and got 3 plain chicken breasts from like this buffet after the golf outing. There were 3 plain chicken breasts. I loaded it up with lettuce, and then I got a couple of scoops of barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, this should be good. And then I called her after. I'm like, yeah, I did really good. And then she's like, how many scoops of barbecue sauce did you have? I'm like, maybe 2 spoonfuls. And she's like, that's 18 grams of sugar. Like, I almost ruined it on day 2.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah,
and I never looked at it.
And that's the thing, is so many people are not aware of that. So many people don't even know that. So that was really, I think also the water
Why
trying
is
to
there
drink
so much
more.
sugar in barbecue sauce either?
Yeah, it's sugar and everything. Check your
Oh,
food, check your
God.
labels. That's another announcement that maybe we'll make at the end of the episode.
Ooh.
Stay tuned. I just decided.
teaser.
Actually, I just decided in the moment. We haven't officially announced it on the podcast yet.
No.
Should we do it?
Yeah. Do
Okay,
it.
stay tuned till the end of the episode for an exciting announcement with having to do with our rant about food and all of those things. So, what do you think? What do you think was? So we shared a little bit about it. I think, I have thoughts on what the hardest things was, like my favorite thing. But what do you think was the hardest part of that challenge?
The food thing was easy. The no alcohol thing was easy. We didn't drink much. Anyway, if we weren't really. If we had a drink every 2 weeks, that was a lot for us. Anyways, and so cutting that out has been fine. I still haven't had a drink since when did we start? Beginning of July.
Yeah, I've maybe had 1 or 2 glasses of wine since then.
Yeah, so I mean it's been seven months for me, and I haven't. No big deal. The outdoor workout was probably the hardest. Not because it was a hard workout, but just to fit in the outdoor workout. Like the summers in Wisconsin get to be. We had a couple of days that were 105 with 95% humidity. And so it's like, as soon as you wake up in the morning, let's go for a walk, or at night, let's go for a walk. In the rain.
There was one day we had a date night.
It was an impromptu date night because I had won a golf tournament.
Yeah.
So then we had a winner's dinner that night, and so she had to quick get ready.
Yes, I got ready in like 15 minutes, and then we went to it, and then we still needed the outdoor workout. So I
golfed all day, so I didn't need the outdoor workout.
But I did.
But you did.
Because I didn't know I was going to go to this dinner, and that's when I was going to take my walk. So we got home at
we had a
9?
babysitter for Sawyer.
Yeah.
And then we got home at like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it was pouring rain.
We put on the raincoats.
And it's like, this is a great date night. Let's go for a walk at 10 o'clock at night in pouring rain.
To get our outdoor workout.
Yeah.
So it was like days like that where, actually that was one of, like, I think
that was actually really fun.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like that was one of my hardest parts of the thing was the outdoor workout. But it's also one of my favorite things because it forced me, I mean, I pretty much work out every day as it is. So that, the first workout for me was no problem. It was fitting in another outside workout. And it was the hardest because sometimes it was just like life. And I traveled 3 times for work during that 75-day hard challenge. So I was trying to drink a gallon of water at conferences, at events, and I would be out there at the end. And some of these conferences went from like 7:30, 8 in the morning until like 6:30, 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes. And then I'd have to get the walk in. So it was the most hard, but I also loved it because I got this love for walking. I was doing like brisk. Part of the thing with 75 hard challenges, the second workout is outside is supposed to be more intense. I just tried to take a brisk walk. Again, it had to fit our lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I also loved it. It also got us outside. Sometimes we did like family time where it was like, oh, we got to go play outside, with Sawyer and play soccer and all that. Yeah. I think that was one of the hardest, but also my favorite.
Yeah, you don't have to bring your weight bench outside to get a workout in. It's like, get the heart moving, get your blood moving. Yeah. So it was soccer outside every now and then. Walk golfing, my favorite. Sawyer went on plenty of walks.
But you also had to that was the other thing. You had to take a picture of yourself every day. That was the other
75 pictures.
You had to take a picture of yourself every day. So what do you think you learned the most from doing that challenge?
I learned most from the challenge. Well, 2 things. Actual learning was how much crap is in our food. Mm-hmm. And realistically, how easy it is to not eat that stuff. It wasn't that hard. It was inconvenient more than hard. Yeah. I would say if the word I'm looking for, it's convenient to buy a pack of Pop-Tarts for $4. It's inconvenient to have to make a salad.
Yeah, that's so true.
We didn't go out to eat. I think that night that we had the winner's dinner was the only night we went out to eat.
Yeah, it was actually really nice from that perspective.
Because it's like, well, what do they cook all the food in? It's some oil. It's something
inflammatory oils that we were avoiding.
It's like, well, I don't want to eat all that oil because when you're eating so clean and you do eat something like that, your body just freaks out.
Yeah,
like you just feel like garbage. But then just the mental toughness, like you can do it. It's not impossible to do. Just put your mind to it, know that it's for the better, and enjoy it. It just is what it is.
And I think for me, I just love to see, because again, this has been something that, I mean, I have a degree in communication with emphasis in health and wellness, and I have a health promotion minor. So I've been involved and have understood this type of stuff for such a long time, but I really loved, other than me just like blabbing to Jake about what was in food or what was good for you or how to make a balanced meal of protein and fibers.
Get your plant points.
And getting your plant points without me just having to blab about it. He was actually experiencing it firsthand. So I actually really love this. And then also teaching our son too about mental toughness and why mom and dad had to, you know, get another workout in, or why we're counting plant points or things like that.
Yeah,
so
why we can't get ice cream all summer.
Why we couldn't, and just being able to understand that it's not restriction in a bad way. It's doing things that were good for our body and talking about healthier options. So for me, I would say too, I think what I learned was just like the idea, like you can do hard things, you know, this idea of, that was the biggest mindset thing for me is, you know, oh, I already did a workout today, I don't want to do another one. And you can negotiate yourself out of it. And I think for me, that's why I was so happy we did it together, because I've had to be on a lot of really restrictive diets because of health things or fasts or things like that. And it is such a mental game. But when I had a partner in it, you know, I couldn't negotiate myself out of it. And you're tracking an app. So the thing is that I knew that if I didn't get my workout in, or if I didn't take my picture, or if I didn't do the thing, that not only was I letting myself down, but I had to then tell Jake, like, hey, I missed today. And we'd have to either start over together or, so I feel like having that accountability partner really helped.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. The other hard thing, like I said, was not going to get like summer nights ice creams.
Yeah.
Because I always liked doing that. It was like, all right, we're going to eat a fruit popsicle that's, you know, 100% organic fruit with no added sugar type thing. And Sawyer really didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, it was fine. But it's still just that mindset of like, oh, going out for ice cream on a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon after you're done with all your stuff for the weekend.
Yeah. And again, we're saying like one of the things we talked about a lot is you don't want to get to the point where you resent the process, because there's nothing wrong with treating yourself to an ice cream sometimes. Like that's not what we're saying. But the thing is that when you decide to make a commitment of like, hey, this is what I'm doing, I think I'm going to go, and this might rub people the wrong way, but I think people have gotten so comfortable and so against people doing things that are like this, because they're like, oh, you don't want to restrict too much. We need to have body positivity, which yes, I'm absolutely not saying that's not what I'm saying. However, there's also this idea that sometimes we can push ourselves and challenge ourselves. And I know for me, like I said, I've had to be on a lot of really restrictive diets given to me from functional medicine doctors. And sometimes the community of people I'm with is like, well, can't you just have a little? Or like when I decide not to drink or things like, well, can't you just have some? It's like, yeah, I could, but I'm choosing not to at this instance. And then there's another instance where it's like, yeah, I'm going to have some ice cream, but it's because I'm choosing to, not because you told me that I should. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah. No, you're pretty much spot on with it.
Yeah, because I feel like when you decide to do things like this, people come out of the woodwork to have a lot of judgment about you doing it and why it's not healthy, why it's not good. When in reality, it's like to each their own. If we're choosing we don't want to drink alcohol for 3 months, that's because we don't want to, or beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but like you are capable of so much stuff and no one else needs to validate it for you. Yeah. Like, I don't know, that's kind of what you were getting at. Like, if you want to do something, do it. You have one shot at life. You have one shot at this place they call Earth. Do it how you want to do it. If you don't want to do this stuff, great. Yeah. If you do it. Your body can handle so much more than you give it credit for.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is sometimes
this brain is just a miraculous thing that we have. And I am convinced. I've watched so many podcasts on this about how much wasted space is in the brain. Yeah. And like how much unlocked potential you have in there. And I don't even know what we're using of the brain percentage wise. It's like there's so much in there. You can do so much stuff if you stop being so darn comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's part of what I was saying too, is I think sometimes people just are like, they see it all as very restrictive and not healthy or not. And it's like, that's totally fine for you, but also we can push ourselves. Like, it's okay to push yourselves. And again, I see the same thing with like work-life balance, or people are like, don't work too hard or work hard. Like, there's just so many extremes. I think maybe that's what it is. People are always doing so many extremes of either you should do all this and never have this other thing, or you shouldn't go that extreme because it's not good for you. And I just don't see that as black and white. I see it as that there's this like continuum, and there's a certain point in time where maybe you decide to be more strict or really challenge yourself, and there's a time when you decide to be more lenient. And either way. So also with that, so obviously we've done ice bath, 75 hard. Another thing that we started doing was different types of fasting.
Yeah, speaking of controversy with what people think
and
what people will say.
Yeah, so more around, apparently this is a controversial episode, but around fasting. So a little bit of backstory, again, having a lot of like gut issues. And if you're somebody who's listening who's had gut issues, if you worked with naturopath, functional medicine doctors, oftentimes they do recommend certain types of short-term fasting because it helps to kind of work on your gut microbiome. Again, you can do the research on this, and we maybe even in the show notes could link some research and some articles behind the science behind some of this. But so it had been recommended to me years ago to do like 24-hour fasting because it was really good. I have SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You can look that up. But 24 hours of fasting can really help with your gut microbiome. Well, I'll be honest, is like when that first was told to me years ago, I wasn't ready to do it. And this is the thing, is that you're not always at a point to do these things. To me, it felt very restrictive. And I remember thinking like, I'm not going to not eat dinner with my son at night. Like, that's where my mindset was. Well, fast forward a couple of years, I've evolved. I've studied more about it. I've researched more about it. I've talked to Jake's ear off about fasting. And now that I understand it more and how to best utilize it, and especially as a woman would have to fast different than men. Now that I understand it, I was so much more open to it. And now that's another thing that we've started incorporating because it's really good for your immune system. It's really good for resetting your gut microbiome, for returning the balance in your gut. It's really good for longer fasts, are really good for things like for people who have had cancer as well. So there's research that a 72-hour fast can help to generate new stem cells. So you'll look at people who do more natural, it's crazy, who do more natural cancer treatments and things, they incorporate these fasts.
You don't have to take a pill?
No, we're not going there. We're not going there today on this episode. But so we obviously, again, given our journeys and given our history and things that had been, told to us because of our health things, we decided to start incorporating some of this. So I've done 24-hour fast. I had to do like 2 weeks of liquid diet before. We decided to do a 3-day, so a 72-hour fast. So tell me a little bit about your experience doing that.
So I did it with a buddy, which was nice. We did it right after New Year's. Just kind of text throughout the day and say, oh, how you doing? Keep it up, blah, blah, blah. First day, I've done 24-hour fast before. So you go to bed on Sunday at whatever, 9 o'clock. You stop eating at 7. You don't eat until dinner the next night or whenever you eat dinner, 6 or 7. And so it's like, that is 24 hours. You just have water, a little bit of coffee. The 72-hour fast started off, I think, much harder because as you get closer to dinner time on the first day, you're like, oh no, I can't eat tonight. Oh, and I can't eat tomorrow night. I'm going to have to eat the next night. It's like, oh, that's a long ways off. And so the hunger set in quickly on the first day. The first, 24 hours towards like hour 18, 19, 20. I think that's when I wasn't crabby. Maybe I was a little hangry. I'm not exactly sure. Day 2 was tougher, but I felt more mental clarity that day. Like, I think all the stuff starts to get out of you, all the drinking of water. When I'm taking my blood, we got that glucose checker machine thing.
Yeah.
So you check your blood glucose level, so sugar levels, and then your ketones, right? So blood sugar should stay somewhat level Obviously, it will spike and go down during the course of the day, just like your natural body does. And then the ketones are supposed to, I think it's like 18 to 24 hours into a fast, your ketones start to rise.
Mm-hmm.
And that means you've burned all your sugar and your ketones start going up, which is basically fat reduction, if I'm kind of saying that right.
Yeah, in a simplified way, yeah.
In a simplified way. So I started to feel really good on day 2, went to bed. Day 3 came along, felt great. I was working out. I didn't work out day 2. Day 3, I worked out a little bit. I was still doing cold plunges. And then I could eat at the end of day 3, but it was nice knowing, even when I ate at the end of day 3, there was, what I have, a half a bowl of soup.
Yeah.
Like you're not super hungry at that point. You realize like, I really don't need to eat. I lost a little bit of weight, but mostly it was just, I felt really good.
Yeah.
I felt like invincible. You're not really tired or groggy anymore. All in all, I like the experience.
Yeah, and again, this is like, listening to your body, like tuning into your body. And again, I won't get into the science. I'm happy to post links in the show notes of who I follow for information on fasting. But again, if you're a female and you're listening, women have to fast different than men. And that's, I think, one of the misconceptions.
That's why she couldn't do it with us.
Yeah. That's one of the misconceptions out there, is that people say, intermittent fasting and fasting is, not good for you. It's going to ruin your hormone health for women. And yes, that is true if you're not doing it appropriately, if you're doing it not at the right times, all of that stuff. So for me, it's like I needed to understand the science behind it. And so knowing that, then I did it a couple days later. And for me, again, it's mostly the mindset. I remember Jake saying this. He says, not that I really need to eat on day 2, but he's like, I just want to. It's like, you just want to chew something. You just want to eat something.
You're so conditioned to just go to the cabinet and be like, you eat 3 meals a day.
That's why so many people say you get like, you do get these bursts of creativity, or it's a really great time to meditate, to lean into like journaling, because you're trying to distract yourself from.
It's like there's smog in the air, and then it just clears up, and it's just a bright, perfect picture blue sky.
Yeah,
where it's just clear. You hear everything.
Yeah, and I mean also doing it safely again. So that's why we do the tracking, because you track your blood sugar to make sure it doesn't go too low. And then you track your ketones to make sure they don't go too high. So I was doing the same thing. And then on the 3rd day, when I started to get to the point where I was like, ooh, I'm feeling really run down now. For me, I started getting a little bit dizzy, a little bit foggy. I checked my blood sugar. I was like, ooh, listening to my body. Now it feels like a time that I'm going to break my fast. So again, there's health benefits, but for us, it's like, what can we do? So again, all these things, talking about the 75 hard challenge and the ice baths and the fasting, like these are just some of the ways that we work to challenge our minds. Other things we do obviously is journaling and reading and putting ourselves in, different business opportunities. It's like, what can we do to just continue pushing ourselves and pushing each other? Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think going back to the fasting, so a book I really recommend, you don't have to be a hunter to like this book, but it's called The Comfort Crisis. Michael Easter, I think, is the author. The book is The Comfort Crisis. It kind of tracks the journey of a guy who goes to Alaska, gets dropped off for 30 days on a hunting trip. There's a little bit of hunting in it, but mostly it kind of is a flashback from being in the moment, then going back to the comfort crisis that's happening in the world of like, I got to have 3 meals a day, right? I have to be at 72 degrees. Otherwise I'm uncomfortable. Where back in the days, you didn't have a thermostat that, you don't even have to adjust them nowadays. You walk past them and they're like, oh, that dude's cold. I'm going to jack up the heat. Or they're not home. I'm going to lower it. Like, that's ridiculous. And you look back to hunter-gatherers, and it's like, if they killed an animal, they ate it, they would go hungry until they found the next one. That might be a day. It might be 4 days. Like, they don't have a refrigerator to put the food in. So it's like our minds are just so much more different, and like we can handle so much harder things. We need to start giving ourselves credit to be able to do that.
Yeah. And that's really why we do a lot of this stuff. That's a great point. I haven't read that one yet, but I know you talked about it. I'm adding that to my list. So the comfort crisis, but just things like this. So if you're listening to this and you're like, you two are crazy, I'm not doing a challenge, I'm not doing ice baths, I'm not doing fasting. That's not the point of the episode. I mean, if we can inspire you to do maybe
Do
for you
anything that challenges
anything
this.
that's going to challenge you, or the thing that you said you're going to do. If you told yourself, I'm going to start drinking more water, and you aren't, well, here we're calling you to the carpet to say, like, what's the thing that's going to finally get you to do that? Or if you made a commitment to just take one walk a day, whatever that is, you know, you have to start where you are. Again, this has been a journey. Like I said before, this wasn't like we went from, oh, we're just new to personal development to we're doing ice baths. Like, it's been years and years of building muscle and building habits that for us, this was like the next step. For you, you might be at the like, hey, I just want to drink more water. I want to do one workout a day. Like that's
great.
That's perfect, because you also have to do something that's sustainable. Like, we've acknowledged and known, like, we can't always be in a state that we're constantly doing 2 workouts a day because other things in life happen. It's just like, what's the thing that you're going to commit to, and pushing yourself, because like I always say, I believe that people are capable of so much more than they give themselves credit for. I say this all the time.
Amen.
People are so much more, you are so much more capable than you're giving yourself credit for. So what's that thing? What's your thing that's going to push you? And when we feel healthy and vibrant, we are able to give more, right? So we talk about mindset on this podcast, and leadership and growth and development. Well, if you run a business, if you're in a corporate career, if you're an executive, if you have teams, whatever it is, if you want to push forward towards the next step for you, like, all of it's related.
Yeah. I was listening to Alex Hormozy on a podcast. This kind of ties in good to it recently, but he was just talking about successful people are just people who didn't give up. They went through the same challenges as everyone else, and they like to talk about their story of like, we had to overcome this, we had to overdo that. But like, do you know how many people have Lyme disease?
Yeah.
Do you know how many people have cancer? We're not special because we overcame it. We just didn't choose to let that define us, and we didn't give up. We're not giving up. We're not close to done. I don't even know what done is. I don't really know it.
Yeah. I don't think there is like that
there's not a done. There's just are we better than we were yesterday? But successful people, in no matter what you want to do, whether that's you want to take your health to the next level, you want to take your business to the next level, you want to take your marriage to the next level, your family, whatever, you just have to not give up on the parts that suck, right? When the devil's telling you to stop, or your brain's telling you, nope, don't do that, you can cut that off.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. And I'm always transparent in my journey of, unfortunately, like, I can't say I'm on the other side of Lyme's yet, where it's like I'm better and I'm healthy. I've had a couple months of doing really good, and now I've really been in a downward spiral again of symptoms and things like that. But for me, what can I do? I can go back to the habits. I can go back to the mindset. I've got Jake, who picks me up off the floor when I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But the thing is, and I have people say to me like, oh, I want to start a business like you have, or I love that you share your health journey. Like, people will tell me that, which is why I share it, because it's like, I'm just sharing what's worked for me and what we do and the tools and resources that I have. And also to say it's never a linear path, and nor is it supposed to be, right? Because if you want to get to like the top of the peak or the top of the mountain, you have to be built up strong enough, and you have to keep getting hit with things over and over again to make you strong enough to get to the top. And if I didn't have any of these things, if Jake didn't have any of these things, we wouldn't be strong enough to get to the top. Whatever that top looks like, which again, I feel like keeps
we'll never obtain it.
Right.
But we can always go after it.
Strive for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our take on this. I mean, I would say the biggest takeaways is just, first of all, hopefully a piece of us sharing our story, something lands with you. Maybe you're just like, ooh, I want to try challenging myself on one of those things or one area. Maybe for you, it's just like, oh, where am I too comfortable that maybe I need to put myself out of my comfort zone or push myself? Maybe I need an accountability partner.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts that you want to share?
Nope, I'm good. What's your surprise announcement?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I'm so glad you said that. So if you follow me on social media, I did tease and kind of drop this a little bit, but I haven't announced it on the podcast yet. So obviously we're sitting here talking about, health and all of that, and it's a big part of our lives. and just having experienced this journey and all of those things, I got this idea about a year ago. I get really frustrated and really fiery when it comes to how do more people not know this stuff? How do we get more information and education out to people so that they can make better choices for themselves and for their families?
Yeah.
And I got this idea on a walk, which is where I get almost all of my ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're excited to announce that we are launching another business.
Mm-hmm.
Drum roll, the Healthful Co. So the Healthful Co. is an education and will be a membership platform for helping families to be better educated, to make choices for themselves and for their family, because we believe that everybody should live a healthy and full life, and we really want to be with you on that journey. So the Healthful Co. is an educational platform that we'll be sharing more about.
Yep.
And is going to have information on some of the things we talk about of how do we become better educated about products, our food. I know for me, it's like constantly researching, like what pan should I use? What food products should I use? What beauty products should I use? And so we're taking all of that research and education that I have done and providing that to you so that you have that education and can make those decisions for your family.
Yeah. Yeah. Toxic dental stuff.
Yeah. Talking about so many different areas around just, again, better educating. There's no shame. There's no perfection on this journey, but it's really around how do we give you the resources and the education so that you can make choices for your family around the areas like we've talked about.
Yep.
And as I started sharing things like trying to find pans that weren't toxic and trying to find toothpaste that wasn't toxic and beauty products, like I'll have people asking me like, oh, how'd you find that? Where do you do the research? And so this idea came to me on a walk, and it's kind of been behind the scenes. And so, yeah.
And
it's
been, I don't know how many hours we've spent researching stuff, and you way more than I have. But the things that we were told were non-toxic or healthy turned out to not be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of marketing. I mean, the whole thing is looking for your dollars. So we want to make sure that we're putting information out there, this is here, your choice. But we don't want you to not be able to see what B and C is, because all you're going to see is A from big marketing.
Yeah, I mean, we want them all out there for you. One of the biggest things that I'm a researcher at core, and I never take anything at face value, which can be really frustrating.
Very frustrating.
But what it has done is, if somebody tells me something, I will have a bunch of questions until I get to the root. And that has been really important to me. So when someone says like, hey, these are the pans that you should, this is a list of I'm just using pans as an example of these are the non-toxic pans. Well, I take it about 10 layers deeper until I research what's actually in those pans and what does the test and the studies show us. And what we discover is that what's on those lists is usually not the most non-toxic option, which again, that's totally fine, but we want you to have that information. So that's just one of the examples, but we're excited that there's going to be more coming out. So stay tuned. I'm sure I'll drop more information on the podcast, but we're in the early stages of that, and we're really excited. And the potential and, a lot more conversations like this type of thing will happen on that platform as well.
I love it.
All right. So make sure that you share this episode. It's a little bit outside of what we usually talk about on the podcast. So I would love to hear, do you like to hear this type of stuff? What stands out for you? Make sure that you send me a message. Of course, we absolutely love if you share the episode, tag us. And if you'd be so kind to share, leave a rating and review, it really helps us to get this podcast out to more guests. So thank you. And hopefully it won't be so long before we get Jake Menden himself back on the podcast.
Well, now we have another podcast to start. So
yeah, we'll see. Stay tuned. All right. Thanks, everybody.